A historic watering trough was reinstalled to downtown Exeter after 44 years, thanks to the dedication of one family. Town staff and officials joined members of the Webb family to commemorate the return of the trough to downtown Exeter.
I'm Pam McElroy, the Senior Executive Assistant to the Town Manager. Town Manager Russ Dean is not able to be here today, but wanted me to share his appreciation of everyone who helped in the placement and dedication of this antique watering trough, especially Mr. and Mrs. Robert Webb, who donated the trough.
Leslie Webb fulfilled her late husband Robert Webb's wish that the trough be returned to the town. Mr. Webb had rescued the trough from a scrapyard back in 1978 and looked after it at their home. While originally thought to be dated back to the 1800s, the Exeter Historical Society's Barbara Kunis had another theory.
Yeah, the minute I heard about them donating it back to the town, I thought that's got to be the watering trough that was located in front of the old county courthouse, which was only there until 1969. And it was originally designed to go with the Exeter bandstand because when that bandstand was first proposed, there was an iron watering fountain for horses that stood there, and they were going to have to remove it in order to put up the bandstand. Now, we're talking about a transitional time period. It's 1915, 1916 when the bandstand's finally erected, and it's just between the time when people were still using horses, but there were also a lot of cars on the streets, too. So the question was it really necessary to still have this? The bandstand was designed by Henry Bacon, who was a very famous architect of the Beaux-Arts movement in the United States in the turn of the century. And he designed it with the watering trough to be placed on the side of the bandstand, just opposite where the steps are. And so that way you could replace that old watering fountain. When they went to put up the bandstand, however, in the summer of 1916, for whatever reason, and we don't know what, they decided instead to place it sort of between the courthouse and the town hall. So a lot of people remember it as being in front of the town hall. So the next project was finding pictures to corroborate that this watering trough that we were getting back in our center of town is the same one that came with the bandstand. And it took us a lot of work to try and find a photo. We knew it was in our collection somewhere. It turned out to not be an actual photograph. It turned out to be an archival slide, which is a sort of a slide, but it's not a negative slide like most of the slides that you see. And we processed it out and finally were able to match the exact location of that particular watering trough. So it's definitely the right one. So then the next question was, when was the watering trough removed from the town square? So we tracked it actually just by doing sort of blind searches of the Exeter newsletter, and what kept popping up year after year in the 1950s and in the 60s was that the Exeter Garden Club would say that they were going to decorate for various things in the town. Sometimes it was the 4th of July, sometimes it was Christmas. And they would say, we're going to be decorating the old watering trough. So we knew it was still there. And the final time that we find that listed in the newspaper as kind of an interest item was in November of 1969. Which was after the courthouse had come down. The courthouse comes down in the summer of '69. So the watering trough is still there after the courthouse comes down. Our first theory was maybe they took the watering trough out at the same time they took the courthouse out. That doesn't seem to be the case. Mrs. Webb recalled that her husband purchased the watering trough from a scrap dealer in Hampton, and that person had gotten it from Bell and Flynn. So Bell and Flynn is a road construction company, still in effect today. And so we went through the town reports to see if we could figure out when there was any major road work done on that particular part of Front Street. And it came up as the summer of 1971. And we have pictures of the big dig that happened in the summer of 1971. They never mentioned the watering trough, but it seems likely, considering the way they reconstructed the configuration of the downtown, that that's when it came out. And so it was probably taken to the scrap dealer at that time. Mrs. Webb has a photo of it on her front lawn at her farm in 1978, and it is most definitely the same watering trough as we have in the slide that we found. So it's definitely the same one. So even though we have a bit of a break in the chain of custody there, pretty sure this is the watering trough that came with the bandstand.
The town would like to thank the Webb family for being the caretakers of this historic treasure and for gifting it back to the town after all these years.